Alright, this is lesson 33 for 8th grade, and today we're talking about subtracting integers. A couple lessons ago we were adding integers, and we have to remember that integers are all of our counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to infinity. 0 is also in there, and all of the opposites of the counting numbers, so -1, -2, -3, -4, all the way down to negative infinity. So we will be subtracting those this time instead of adding. But what we're going to find out is we can turn these into addition problems with a special rule. So right off the bat here it says, recall that we used a method called algebraic addition to subtract integers. That's what we were doing a couple lessons ago. So instead of subtracting a number, we add its opposite. We're going to consider that when we do this. So remember, the opposite of like 5 would be -5, or the opposite of -5 would be 5. Okay? Same number with a different sign. So now we want to change each subtraction to addition and find the sum. So instead of subtracting, we're going to add its opposite. So for A here, we have -3, and we want to add, so we have subtract -3 minus +2. Instead, we're going to add the opposite. So we're going to add, and what's the opposite of 2? Well, it's a -2. So now, instead of this, which probably looks a little funny to us, we have -3 plus -2. And we've done that before. This says, okay, we're at -3 degrees, and then we're going to get even more negative. We're going to be at -5. Okay? Another way that this could be written, and in high school and things like that, it might not always look like this. This could also be written as -3 minus 2. Could look like that, and I'll show us that in a second here. That's one way we could write that. We can show these on the number line too. Let's say we do this one, -3. Let's see here. Let's just make some lines here. We always want to start at 0. Alright, so 0, we're going to start there, and from there we're going to go back 3, or -3, so that'd be -1, -2, -3. So we're going to go here, we're going to stop at -3, and then from there, it says we're going to go minus a +2 or plus a -2. Either way, we're going more negative. So we're going to go back 2 more. 1, 2, and we are at -5. Our answer. Okay? Basically, when you see a negative, like we will for B here, well, let's just go through this one first. Alright, but remember, we have -3 now, and we want to add its opposite when we see integer minus an integer. So we have -3 minus -2. We're going to add the opposite of -2. The opposite of -2 is +2. And we get -3 plus +2, and that is -1. So we're turning these things into things that we've already seen before, that algebraic addition that they were talking about.
Cole Bergman, Garrett Dons, and Vanessa Head. Come to the office, please. Cole Bergman, Garrett Dons, and Vanessa Head.
Sorry about that. One thing that I always looked out for when I was in school, if I ever saw a negative or a minus a negative, I just knew that that was going to be turning into a plus. -3 plus 2. So another way we could have written that one was -3 plus 2. And we did this a couple lessons ago. We take the difference. 3 minus 2 is 1, and the negative is with the bigger number, so we know that it's going to be negative. Okay? So this is definitely a kind of a different concept, and I want us to look at it in the way of a pattern to help us kind of see that this is true. Alright, so if we look at our blue column here, we've got 3 minus 3. Well, we know what that is. 3 minus 3 is 0. So we'll start with some things we know here. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So we can see as we subtract less from 3, we get a bigger answer. Should be equal sign here. 3 minus 0, 3. So basically we're figuring out the difference is bigger. Okay? Now, this is basically saying, what's the distance from 3 and 0 on the number line? Well, it's 3. What's the distance from 3 to 3 on the number line? That's 0. What's the distance from 3 to 2 on the number line? 1. So let's look at that quick. Let's just say 0, right here, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2. Alright, so 3 minus 3, distance of 3 to 3 is 0. 3 and 2, they are 1 unit apart. 3 and 1, 2 units apart. 3 and 0, 3 units apart. Okay, now we can see that we've gone down 1 each time and we've increased 1 each time as we went this way. So 1 less than 0 is -1. 3 minus -1, going by the pattern, we should get 4. And we can see that the distance between 3 and -1 is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this right here, 1, 2, 3, 4 units away. It is 5 units away from -2, so 5 here. And that's where we are there. So just looking at some patterns kind of helps us out a little bit. Here, this is the notation I was talking about. Technically this is -1 plus -3. That's one way to think about it. But this is -4. This is -3. -1 minus 1 should be -2. -1 minus 0 will be the same thing, -1. -1 minus -1. Well, whenever we subtract the same thing from itself, it just becomes 0. How about -1 minus -2? 1. So really this is saying -1 plus 1, -1 plus 2. Okay? So hopefully these patterns help just a little bit. And we'll sort of get used to this notation. Just remember that if we are subtracting integers, we could always turn them into addition problems. So this could be the same thing as -1 plus -3. Add the like that. This could have been written as, well, we'll leave these ones because these we already know. But this could have been 3 plus 1. Since we would want to add the opposite of this one. That's following that rule. We're going to have to work with these quite a bit in order to get used to them, but we will. Getting these things down takes some time, but after a while, these are the basics of algebra, and once we have these things down, it's kind of like your basic math facts. Once you have those things down, it's much easier to get into those
Garrett Dahms
harder
and Vanessa Head,
concepts.
come to the office, please. Garrett Dahms and Vanessa Head.
All right, well, we will carry on with this tomorrow.